Hello everyone. My name is Saskia Kowalchuk, and I'm a first-year master's student in the Media Studies program here at Concordia University, and one of the organizers of this conference. As a brief visual description, I am a white woman with long brown hair, wearing glasses, hoop earrings, and a paint-printed top. Joining me to moderate this conversation today is Piper Curtis, also a first-year MA student and conference organizer. Thank you so much for joining us for the final speaker session of the Digital Immaterialities Conference. It's been an absolute pleasure to gather with all the attendees over the past 3 days. We've heard about everything from the eugenicist logics of AI to the possibilities of creative expression in the face of a global pandemic. Now we turn to a topic that forms the basis of both Piper and my research, and one that we feel expresses many of the themes of our conference this week, and that is internet memes. So we're very lucky to be joined by two Instagram meme makers to discuss their work and the role of memes in the wider digital landscape. However, before we get started, we would like to acknowledge that Concordia University is located on unceded Indigenous lands. The Ganagahaga Nation is recognized as the custodians of the lands and waters on which many of us gather today. Tiohtià:ke, or Montreal, is historically known as a gathering place for many First Nations. Today, it is the home to a diverse population of Indigenous and other peoples. We respect the continued connection with the past, present, and future in our ongoing relationships with Indigenous and other people within the Montreal community. As we gather from across the web and around the world, we wish to recognize the material and territorial implications of this context. Following the art libraries of North America, we acknowledge the Ohlone family of tribes as the traditional Indigenous inhabitants of what now called San Jose, California, where Zoom is headquartered. The Ohlone, a collective of around 50 separate tribes with related languages that are collectively recognized under this umbrella term, have been living in the Bay Area for 10,000 years. The Ohlone are still here today fighting to keep their culture alive despite the legacy of Spanish missions and Mexican and American colonization. In the spirit of translating immaterialities into materialities, we encourage each participant joining us from across the globe to look up the lands on which they are situated, past, present, and future, and reflect on their relationship with these lands. Additionally, we wish to voice our solidarity with Palestine and people everywhere engaged in anti-colonial struggle. I'll now turn it over to Piper to introduce our guests.
Thanks, Saskia. As Saskia said, my name is Piper Curtis. I'm also a first year in the Media Studies MA here at Concordia, and I am so pleased to welcome Aiden, Arata, and Bianca Perez here today. First, I'll give you just a quick visual description of myself. I'm a white non-binary person with shoulder-length pink hair, bangs, and a black button-down shirt. Bianca Perez, aka Young Nihilist, is a 20-something Dominican dilettante creating memes, moods, and nightlife in New York City. She's spoken at universities such as Wesleyan and Brown on internet culture and the minutiae of building an online persona. You can find her somewhere in Bushwick on her phone. Aiden Arata is a writer, director, and internet artist from Los Angeles. Her writing has been featured in Bomb, Mask, The Rumpus, The Fanzine, Alternative Press, and others, as well as NDA, an autofiction anthology forthcoming by Archway Editions 2021. Arata's visual work has shown in Los Angeles and Baltimore. She is the writer and director of the short films Creep 2019 and Powder Room 2020. Bianca and Aiden, thank you so much for being here today. Bianca, would you like to start with a visual description of yourself and then Aiden?
Sure. Forgot the criterion. I'm a light-skinned woman, curly hair, and a color block button up.
Hey, I'm Aiden. I am a white woman with 2 baby buns and a black t-shirt. Yeah.
Great, thank you. So to get into it, thought we'd ask a bit of a provocation. As you know, memes are kind of popping up everywhere more and more, also in like academic discourse. there's a lot of discussion about what exactly is a meme. So I'd love to hear from both of you what you consider a meme, and if you consider what you do memeing.
Oh man, I think making this is the constant exploration of like what that actually means, especially because when you're working in a medium like the internet, it's so fast paced and ever changing that it's kind of, I don't know, maybe there's something nice about how slippery that is. I mean, I think on its base, I would say that a meme is sort of like a cultural reference point, heavily sort of like filtered and generated and disseminated like over and over again until it kind of means something different in a bunch of ways, I guess. Off the top of my head, I don't know, it's also just like outsider art. Like it's also just a way of metabolizing pop culture and making it into something that feels personal and also like weirdly tapped into our cultural consciousness.
Yeah, I totally agree on the outsider art thing. And in that way, it's like poetry or like a really good song. Um, and like with something that's outsider, it can completely change context depending on who is looking at it. It can be something really niche until like the blue checks start getting hint of the joke, and then all of a sudden it's like it's over. Um, so yeah, it's very transient the way that it exists now, I think.
Yeah, totally. I love that. I say a lot that I make memes to trick people into like reading poetry or like to,
Yeah.
it's, I mean, it is just like word and image. Sometimes just, sorry, my cat is being really crazy. Sometimes just image, but yeah, that's a good description. I mean, I don't know. That's interesting too, because then I think about what isn't a meme and I'm like, well, does it count if it's not relatable to anyone? Like we sort of peddle in the economy of relatability. If you make something so profoundly cringe that no one else can relate to it, is it a meme? Probably.
Maybe that's the ultimate meme, maybe.
Yeah, that's our final boss. Yeah, that's what we are working towards.
Absolute indiscernibility, if that's even a word.
Yeah. I want to reach ultimate cringe and then just die.
Great. Well, I mean, I completely agree. I think it's a moving target, and maybe the question is like, what isn't a meme? And I think a lot of researchers get caught up or are very focused on the idea that a meme needs to replicate something. There needs to be this like re-articulation of an image or of a phrase. But I think at the same time, you can have something that like, if it walks like a meme and it talks like a meme, like even if it's, you know, something that's completely the first time it's being made and it's in the context where you would see other memes, I think you could probably consider it a meme. So yeah. I guess our next question, we've read your bios, and so we have a bit of an idea of like how you're situated, but would you mind like telling us how you sort of got started, like how you came to make an Instagram page, and maybe like why you started making memes?
For me, pretty simple. It's just like absolute boredom and like living a bit of a neat lifestyle. I don't know if you guys know Reddit terms like NEET, which means not in training, not in education, employment, or training. So like that interim between like, am I gonna go to college or not? Just graduated high school, like I live with my mom type vibe. And I just didn't know how to socialize with the kind of people that I wanted to. Like obviously I have friends, but I just felt like I was quickly growing out of my environment, and I figured, well, where do you go to find an environment if you're growing out of the one that you're just born into? It's like the internet. And I like started on Twitter and wanted to get really good at tweeting, and then realized that that's just like a lot of work. And I was like, images are so much more. They're worth 10,000 tweets. So I figured to get into that. And I used to be a very like original content type person. And then as time went on, I realized the accounts that would make me laugh the most and like I found like the funniest were repost accounts. So I kind of started to transition into that just because it was funnier to me. It felt more transgressive. The act of stealing itself, like that felt funny to me. It's kind of trolly. Um, and it's easier, to be honest. It's a lot easier. So I see myself as like more of a curator now with like little spurts of inspiration enough to make like to open an app and like place text on an image. It's a lot for me. But yeah.
No, I'm so glad you brought that up because that's a conversation Piper and I have a lot about, stealing, curation. So I would love to circle back on that, but you can go ahead with your story.
Me?
Yeah.
Or
oh, I was gonna say I didn't mean to interrupt, but if Aiden wants to go ahead and then we can, move along. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, I sort of feel like I started in the same place of objection. Maybe that's too strong of a word for your experience. Okay, I don't want to put that on you, but I was like really depressed and just felt like I don't know, like I didn't really have a satisfying creative outlet. I've always been a writer, and I always feel like writing is like sperm donation. Like you just like jack off and then send it into the world, and like you don't know what happens to it. Like it takes so long to make anything, and like you don't know how people are receiving it. You're not really like, you're part of a community, but everyone else is like also a writer, so everyone's kind of in competition or like, squirreling away at their little projects, and like it's and that's beautiful. That's not to shit on my writer friends. I love them dearly, but like and need them, but there's something really satisfying about being able to kind of just give yourself a limit of like, I'm not like, I can't get precious about this. Like it's really in the world, and there's discourse about it right away, or there's a conversation, or you're sort of in a community where people, for better or worse, are able to like respond to what you're feeling at any given time, and it can be, that can feel really satisfying, and sort of feeling like the work that you're making, especially if you're in your early 20s or you're sort of in a place like I've been an assistant in the entertainment industry for a long time, and that's that's an industry in which the entire structure is predicated on the idea that you don't matter and your voice doesn't matter. And it feels really nice to have a space where you can kind of just be like, okay, well, I did like something today, like I put Bobby Hill in the square and talked about being hot or whatever. like it's not like it's not like great art. I don't want to get into that, but it's like also there's something, I don't know. I was listening to this panel on female filmmakers recently, and one of the filmmakers talked about coming from the video game world, where they talk about sort of, I think it's called like experience tests or something, or like emotional tests. Basically what happens is like every step of the way, immediately they test that part of the game to like an audience, and the study group basically responds to how the thing makes them feel. And they just obsessively every step go through it and make sure that everyone is feeling what they want them to feel in that moment. And that feels really close to content creation to me. So yeah, I think I just wanted to feel part of something.
Yeah, I think like the immediacy, like you mentioned, of so many things you create. There's all this kind of like intervening time between like the creation and it reaching people, and it kind of goes out into the void, like you said, and like you might never actually know how people are interacting with it, how they're receiving it, what they think of it. And then with memes and posting on Instagram, the response is immediate in likes and comments and shares, and people actively telling you, for better or worse, what they think of what you posted. um, and Yeah, and I think also it's interesting. You both kind of mentioned uh, this sort of search for like connection or community through your meme making, and so I think Aiden, you even said the word community, and so I wondered like how you both feel about this idea of like sort of a meme community. I know there's a lot of differing opinions, and people who are really invested in it versus people who are maybe like it's not a real community. I have lots of my own thoughts on this, but I'd love to hear both of your opinions.
I wanted to say on the immediacy and like satisfaction part, like I've been doing this so long that I'm like starting to crave the opposite, and just like the long hauling and like, oh, I'm just like slaving over something for some time. Like I'm dead ass like starting to crave that, because the immediacy is starting, it starts to trap you just the way the other thing does, where it's like I don't give myself enough time to like labor over something and like think about it deeply. I just like, wow, like vomit it onto the world, and then they're just like, you should kill yourself. Or they're like, I love it. It depends on the day. um but yeah, on community, that's, I myself am thinking about that a lot. I've made friends from having this account, that I consider to be like my real life friends. So on that front, I definitely agree that there is a community and it's thriving and it's existing. And then at times it's also kind of cannibalistic and, you know, a death spiral. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. Just, it really depends. I've had both experiences, so.
Yeah, I really agree with that. I think that it's both very much. Yeah, I mean, I've met a lot of really great people. I've had friendships, I've had romantic relationships, I've had, like people that I hang out with IRL and have collaborated with. It's been really fun. And also I think especially as your page gets bigger, it's just harder to, I mean, that's maybe a whole other topic in itself, but just sort of the ability to like be a person and like sort of be in community online when you're kind of like, it's just really hard to regulate and show up for relationships in that capacity when there's like hundreds of relationships in your phone and you also have to like exist in the world and also you don't really get paid for this. Like that's a whole thing. So I think it's a lot harder. And I think, I don't know, I mean, I also think that occasionally community maybe gets thrown around by people that either want you to just like not like someone that they don't like, or like they want you to repost their stuff, and sort of like it sort of becomes like a clout thing. I mean, I think that's the same in any artistic community. I think it's the same as someone being like, oh, the music community, and you're like, well, what does that mean? Like there are so many genres and there are so many, like, it's just, I think it's too sprawling. And at the same time, I don't think that mitigates the relationships that I have made and sort of that I feel like I do have like very real and deep connections that exist in some, like in many cases, only online.
I posted a story just now for like the swipe up one, where I said the real you should always remain an unlockable character. And I was like, wait, you kind of did something just there, girl.
Yeah.
Because like the parasocial nature of how this stuff works, where it's like, yeah, you know me, but you know what I'm letting you know. It's like very MTV Diary. Like you think you know, we have no idea.
Are you good at that?
Huh?
Are you good at that? I am in awe if you are able to stay an unlockable character.
I am trying. It's a really fine line to balance. But when I see people who go a little too far, I'm like, okay, that's where the line is. Because even for me, that just feels like a lot. Even if I know the person, I'm just like, these people aren't your real friends. Like they don't need to know like the most intimate, like traumatic, experiences you've had in your life. As much as you can like recontextualize it as like a performance, at times it can get really, I don't even know what's the word. It just gets messy. I guess that's the word. And hurtful to you as like the person who's like creating the content. I think it can be just like not healthy.
Yeah.
Constantly performing your own, pain.
Totally. I think, yeah, it's interesting. I've been thinking about this a lot recently because I feel like I sort of personally came into meme making in maybe like 2013 or 2014, or at least got sort of obsessed with the like weird internet, like fourth wave feminism culture around just sort of like, posting your spiral and like owning that. And like there is, and that felt really like that felt really special at that time. And also I feel like there are so many ways that over the years it sort of has played out into this like sort of corporate, you know, like fucking like Betches talks about like, you know, having like a panic attack or having an anxiety disorder. So like it feels so corporate and normalized. And then on the other hand, a lot of the people or a few of the people that I really sort of like kind of looked up to as artists sort of doing this live performance art of their own lives have really like it's sort of they're really unwell, like they're genuinely unwell, and it really starts to feel uncomfortable to watch that happen to someone and to sort of feel like you're witnessing the internet be complicit in this person's unraveling, and also to feel like you are complicit in their unraveling, or you're promoting a culture in which like someone is maybe not getting the help that they need because you have the privilege to like make it aesthetic or make it feel more palatable, or and that I don't know, that's something that I personally struggle a lot with as someone who is like kind of, you know, all my shit is my shit and my face is on my page, and it's sort of that like influencer adjacent thing, but it feels yeah, vulnerability and like what actually is your responsibility in that capacity can feel thorny to me. I don't have an answer, it's just something that I feel guilty about.
Oh, yeah. I've been thinking about it a lot recently too. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a solution, but maybe we should all log off.
Yeah, exactly. Go touch some grass.
Yeah, exactly. We're out here putting our fucking face on some grass. Like, go touch a bodega cat. Like,
Yeah, on that note, like you're both really coming up against like, yeah, who are you like as a public persona? What do you owe to your audiences? And like at the end of the day, like what are you, you know, getting out of this in a way, like for the amount of labor that you put into it? And given that, you know, I think I would be really interested to know your thoughts on like the difference between a meme maker and an influencer, because I think that those things are kind of enmeshed. And like you said, Aiden, like you have these really big kind of corporate pages which are sometimes known for like stealing content. If you look at like, you know, like the Fuck Jerry network of pages. So like what's the difference between an influencer and a meme maker, and like how are people like making a living and like like on Instagram? And I'm sorry, Megan, I know you put a question in the Q&A, but I had a question prepared regarding like, you know, Instagram and like the way Instagram's changing over the last few years, and especially recently, kind of trying to put commercialism like first and above, you know, interactions with meaningful individuals. Like what's your experience with that? What are your thoughts on that? Sorry, that was kind of a rambly question. Answer one or none of those.
In my experience, it's been meme makers versus influencers is that meme makers don't make any money. And they almost take pride in that, to the point that people will like, you'll post an Adam and Eve ad and get called a sellout. When it's like, I'm not making nearly the amount of money I should for the labor that I'm putting into this, and the coin, like the pennies that I'm getting is still a problem. So it's people feel very entitled to what you do, and that you don't deserve compensation because it's still not labor, but they're consuming it. Whereas like an influencer, it's like you're most likely posting yourself, like your body most of the time. So it's like kind of almost more in the sex work kind of category of things, like posting yourself in like parade underwear. It's like, where does the line between that and like OnlyFans, you know, lie? I feel like it's kind of all the same thing. I lost my train of thought, but yeah.
yeah, I feel somewhere in the middle of those things, because I did dox myself because it was my personal account. So my handle is just my first and last name, which is so stupid, but that's what it is. I didn't think anyone would follow me, and then they did. My friend Shelby Lorman, who's very smart and online, I think she calls it an unintentionally public person, is like her term for people that kind of make content and then sort of, you know, it's also social media, like your face is often in it sometimes, not for everyone, but especially if it's not sort of a corporate page or something. I feel like, you know, you're going to post a story that's like a selfie or something, and then you're sort of tied into this in a weird way. And I like it. Like, like, it's also, I like having a space that I can kind of just do whatever I want, and it doesn't feel sort of within that binary of I did scam for a free mattress too. That was great. I absolutely tricked a mattress company into giving me a free mattress, and I thought I had to take all these like humiliating photos and then like on the mattress, and then I looked at like the terms again, and it like everything was wrong that I had done. Like, I basically just made them really horny, and then they were like, "You can't. We don't want this to be horny at all." And I was like, "Okay, well." Yeah, like they were just like, you can't have sex content and you can't have depression content. And I was like, why does anyone else use a mattress? Like, what? Like, so I see a hole in their market, but whatever. You know, but I totally agree with you, Bianca, that like it feels really frustrating when people get mad at you for doing anything sponsored. When, I mean, memes, I have this thing about the internet, I call it plastic bag theory in my head because it's disposable, but it's also forever. And it's this idea that these, you know, where they're designed for rapid consumption and they're not really supposed to mean anything, but memes are also like comedy, creative direction, graphic design, copywriting. Like there's so many skill sets that go into this one sort of intentionally pointless thing that like it can feel really shitty for people to sort of be like, you don't deserve to get paid for that.
I actually wanted to ask you, like, was doxing your face a decision that you made, or it just kind of happened, or you had already, that was like your original Instagram, like your normie Instagram?
Yeah, that was my normie Instagram. I'm pretty sure that if you scroll back far enough, you'll see like a photo of like brunch or something extremely chuggy from like maybe 2010 or something. It's like a very it just sort of, I honestly didn't want to make a new one because I was so worried that like it felt so embarrassing to me that no one would follow me, and like I would have this like meme account with like 11 followers. Like that just felt horrifying. So I was like, well, I can trick the like 600 followers that I have into being forced to look at my content. And then it just like 75,000 followers later, I feel so immensely embarrassed every time that someone that I know in real life from like high school or like one of my like parents' friends is like looking at my stories, and I'm like, you can't unfollow me. Like, I don't want you to feel like you have to do this. Like that feels horrifying to me, but here we are. No, not on purpose.
I feel like it was very purposeful for me. Like I went through several iterations of like that new iPhone aesthetic where it's like, it's a picture of a flower, it's a picture of the sidewalk, just like excited to have a smartphone.
Yeah.
And then I got a digital camera and it got very artsy, like a lot of white space for no reason, like completely monochrome, and just kind of like went through different phases. And then when I started with the memes, I was like, okay, I'm not going to show my face like at all. Because I don't want people to judge me. And to this day, like as much as like I think I'm very open about the fact that it's me, people still think I'm a man, and I think that's like really funny.
Me too. I'm like, okay.
Well, because women can't be funny. Women aren't funny.
That's true. It's that's it. I feel like it's because we can't be funny and hot, so that must just mean that we're really hot. So that's cool.
Right.
Actually.
Or we're catfishes. We're just using some gross pictures.
My dream.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm an actor. I've been hired here. I'm a crisis actor doing this. Like, that's really funny. Do you have like a personal Instagram account? Me neither. I don't. Yeah.
If it gets deleted forever, I just feel like maybe that's a sign I should get off of that app. There's been many times I thought that might happen. So
Divine intervention.
that's how I'm playing it.
I think it's really interesting, like what you said about like people just feeling entitled to your content, and like this kind of thing where you share your face and this content is you and coming from you, feel like, yeah, especially from you, Aiden, and like you're in your own story a lot and things like that, and you know, sharing the progression of like parts of your life, like your cat and things like that, and we're all kind of going through it with you, and yet like I feel like there's this persistent attitude that memers aren't real people, and yeah, are people are entitled to your content, but they don't feel like they owe you any kind of like respect or or even just, yeah, like letting you monetize your work. uh like people are somehow offended if you're trying to, like, yeah, get a free mattress or a couple bucks from an Adam and Eve ad. um it's this weird, like, something's not clicking with that, but
Especially if you don't create all the content yourself, and they're just like,
mhm.
well, we're gonna get you.
Yeah, I'm very curious about like your opinions on like content theft versus creation, or like theft in kind of a radical sense versus like a fuck Jerry, more like exploitative approach.
I mean, I used to be very anti-fuck Jerry, and then like as I started to realize like this kind of just feels like where content is moving, where it's like it can't just be everyone doing their own personal like little pictures, like the weird Facebook text memes, like that kind of stuff. Just kind of like, I don't know, I've softened up to the idea and just kind of like, well, that's kind of how capitalism works. Like they just got in at the right time and like made a bunch of money off of something that was marketable. And of course, that makes me mad because I wish it was me.
Yeah.
Um, no, but I just think what I'm doing is just kind of different. Like if you look at pages like, I don't know if you follow Patia's Fantasy World, it's like a really popular repost page, but it's like very niche New York, like nightlife, hot, sexy people, like where, if you want to know where the coolest party is, like this is where you follow. So it's like, it's more than just the memes, it's like the culture around it and like the people who run it and, you know, like social, the actual real life social aspect of it, which I think is valuable in a sense that just doesn't make sense to people in fucking Alaska. They're like, well, I'm never going to that party. I don't care.
Yeah, like there is something of value in the way that things are curated and the way that they're presented. And that makes sense to me. I mean, there's no like there's so much information and there's just so much content. Like it makes sense that people want a space where that content is sort of filtered through a perspective that they enjoy or that they relate to. And yeah, I mean, I personally, like with credit, I really appreciate, I like when people repost my stuff because that means that more people are seeing it and more people are going to follow it and more people like it. Like that feels really good to me. I mean, obviously, like that feels really different from someone sort of taking something without credit or taking something and using it to like market their own stuff or like that. There are a lot of boundaries around that, but it feels like I really like getting reposted with credit. That feels good to me. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad, Bianca, you brought up Patia's Fantasy World, because I think her page, and I know it's a couple of different people who curate that page, like brings up a lot of really interesting questions, especially last summer, when things were really like everybody was protesting for Black Lives Matter. She started using her page as like a resource for like anti-racist education, which kind of links to like this question I had for both of you about like, what do you see as the limits of memes in terms of their like political efficacy, as well as like what they're able to express? Do you think there's sort of limits on what you can communicate in a meme, or is that maybe valuable? But like both sort of on a personal and a political level, what do you think the limit of memes are?
I'm honestly very black pilled, so this is like a bad question for me. I'm just like, I used to be much more into that and like, yes, share the links to resources and Linktree and you better do this, you better sign this. I think I just experienced like a lot of fatigue with things like that. Which then translates to just like, yeah, just, I mean, and my name, I guess, on Instagram is a joke on me, um, more than anybody else, because I started out the opposite of what that meant. And now I'm just like back to the original meaning, just like nihilism and just feeling like, why? Why should I bother? I don't know, maybe Adrian has a better answer.
I feel like now I'm kind of, I mean, I'm not fully Black pilled, but maybe I am a little bit. It's such a tough, it feels really tough too, because listen, I'm be real. I have made a few infographics in my day. I was there. I believed it. I posted. And
No shame, like it,
yeah,
it happened.
it's part of it's the journey. Thank you for validating me. No, and I also just feel like at this point it feels really performative. Like I personally think that change.org is a scam. I don't believe in it. I don't like, where does the petition go? Where does it go? Nowhere. Like, and like it's tough because I think on the one hand the internet is such a great resource for learning about things, and it can be such a tool for empathy and understanding, and also it can feel really like hopeless to sort of see like a bunch of stuff, like even in the last week, to see, you know, like story after story after story about Palestine, and then there's such a steep drop off, and you're like, they're not cool, like they're not chilling right now, like it's still happening, and it's just the internet attention span feels so poorly designed to actually instigate and sort of sustain change. I don't know. On the other hand, though, I'm like, I feel like so, you know, like so many movements and so many you know, actions wouldn't have happened without something like Twitter, or without sort of an ability to disseminate information. I think I'm sort of in the place where I feel like maybe if you're doing something, there has to be like a material action tied to that. Like if you're sharing where the protest is, that's cool. You know, if you're like, you know, if it's a GoFundMe, like if that's like, you know, if that feels good and it's someone that you know and that's like actually, you know, materially improving someone's life, like that's cool. Like I think that is really useful and good. And also like, you know, I don't really want to see an infographic that's like, here's why calling someone a middle child is problematic. I'm a middle child, so I can say that. Like, but like, it's, yeah, it feels like sometimes I don't know. And then people DM you and they're like, why aren't you boosting this? And you're just like, I don't, because I'm doing shit in my real life that like, cause it feels fake to shame people and not do anything. I don't know. Sometimes I wish I was just like one of those frog accounts that just had no accountability to the world. Like just had no ties to reality whatsoever. And no,
something.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like if you show that you care a little bit about stuff, then it's like, why don't you care about everything enough, fast enough, all the time? And it's just really hard to do that, because I don't want to post anything that I'm not like researching and that I'm not fully behind. Like I don't want to fight with someone in my DMs about something that I'm not educated about. Sometimes, I mean, I'm okay, like also like I'm a white cis woman. Maybe sometimes the best thing for me to do is just read all the shit and not like talk about it. Like, I don't know. I feel Black pill too, I guess.
I mean, I don't know if you guys know Trisha Paytas, but the queen of social media, actually, she recently tried to like do the whole like, you know, white text on the rainbow background story type stuff. Like, this is we should stop the fighting, guys, Palestine, Jewish people, we should stop. And then like 10 stories later, she's like, you know what? I actually just don't know what I'm talking about, and I will stop. Stop. Such a swift justice. It was just like, I can't imagine her DM. She was like, okay, I'll stop.
Yeah.
That's what's gonna happen. It feels better to just like fall back a little bit and just like, but like she said, you also get shit for that. Which I think is also a thing that women get more. I mean, women just get more shit in general. in life, and then it gets translated virtually. So it's like, wait, women are supposed to care more. And I always want to challenge that by not caring. uh, no, I don't know.
To care more and to be educators for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, on Instagram, I feel like there is such a culture of like white people especially going to the accounts of Black women and being like, explain BLM to me, why do Black lives matter? And it's like, whoa, inappropriate. And like that is something you can find out on your own without demanding that of people most affected by these issues. But it feels again like this kind of like this disconnect of the like sort of like dehumanizing entitlement again of like, you have to be funny, you have to be real, you have to be present, you can't make any money, and you have to be an educator, up to date and informed on every single issue. You have to be posting about it, ready to defend your stance, and yeah, and like tell people in like an essay of where you stand on this issue and why. And it's
It's a trip.
yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it's also gotten to the point of where I truly believe like your followers are a reflection of you. So when people are like, I hate these people, they're disgusting, I'm like, oh, I wonder why. So I don't think that about my followers. I think they're great. But at times when they are attacking me, it sounds like me. And I've come across that like that realization recently, and it really creeped me out. I was like, wait, like this is my kind of irony, and like it's being like thrown back at me in this really crazy way. Um, and then you'll have other followers who like come to your defense, and it all just sounds like I'm arguing with myself. And then I'm just like, I need to touch grass.
Yeah, I was gonna say I actually really like my followers, which is maybe just complimenting myself on that. But I swear I was gonna say that before.
Yeah.
But I really like them. I think they're mostly really great, lovely people. And I think who know to respect and respectfully not over DM me. But like, yeah, but it is I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I guess that goes back to like parasocial relationships and just sort of like people not realizing that like you have a life outside of them in a way that like you're not, and it doesn't mean you don't like them. It just means like you can be neutral, or you can be like, the relationship can be one-sided, and that doesn't mean anything negative about anyone involved. And I think that's a tough thing for everyone to grasp. I'm mostly just talking to myself because I have really poor intimacy regulation, and I want to personally take care of every single one of 77,000 people and make sure they have good lives. And it's no good. It's no good.
That's martyrdom, sis. We can't.
Yeah, seriously. Like, and I don't get paid.
That's martyrdom for sure. Yeah. Just like Jesus.
Not a big deal. Second coming. Like, Jesus was a memer.
Since you mentioned this, like, yeah, balancing of like intimacy, that's leads to another question that I had. Like, I'm really interested in this like kind of, yeah, balance between intimacy and Instagram, and also specifically like memeing and meme creation as kind of like this like therapeutic tool. And Aiden, I think this comes across so well in your current series of guided meditations, especially the one you've shared, or all of them really, but just I'll draw attention to the one in our media gallery in the chat there. And Bianca, for you as well, like the one of the memes you shared with us, this kind of spoof on the bop it, the meme it, suppress it, ignore it, mock it, deflect it, speaks to this point so well too. And Yeah, so my question is how do you consider your work as a form of digital intimacy, or what does intimacy mean in this digital context?
I gotta sit on that one.
Yeah, this is a beautiful question. And I mean, I know sort of currently what it means is maybe what I just talked about, which is poor intimacy regulation and sharing and sort of the weird boundaries around when you are sort of performing intimacy for someone or availability and what that means. But I don't know. It's like I want it to mean something healthier. Like I want to have sort of an aspirational philosophical answer that feels good. And right now, it doesn't always feel good. Again, sometimes it really does, and that can be really special. I mean, what a gift to have a tool that lets you have a weird feeling and know that other people have felt that thing, you know, or to sort of have something that gives you the language to articulate an experience that you weren't able to really feel out before. Like that, I think humans are super weird and baby, and that like we sort of all need to be taught how to live. Like we really, whether we like it or not, live by example, or sort of need to, you know, we're social animals, and it feels really nice to have something that can, you know, kind of validate your experience or expand your experience or challenge your experience in these very you know, in these very like small world, low stakes ways. Like I think there is a nice thing about being able to change someone's mind through something that, again, plastic bag theory, like feels very disposable and feels very like, okay, well, like this is, you know, it's not a big deal. This isn't going to be like a big public call out. This is just like a little square in my phone that's asking me to be a little bit different today, or that's like, you know, that is you know, going to make me feel a little bit better today. Like that feels really good. And that maybe is sort of what digital intimacy is. And also I think that it's important to remember that that is like digital, and that like, you know, it's really nice to have a platform, but like a platform is something that you like step off of or that you jump off of. Like there has to sort of be like a material side to that too, personally.
Yeah, I mean, agreed. Kind of like that for a second, I'm not gonna lie. I'm thinking about
I said.
but the jumping off part, of course, like that's exactly how I look at it, and I don't ever want to get stuck in this like rigmarole, because it's really not, when it's not fun, it's really not fun. Um, and for me, like music has always been the thing where I'm like, that's a little too intimate to share with people. Not that I have some sort of treasure trove of like unreleased music, I wish. But it's something I always thought about, well, what would be the point of having a platform and having all these people that like me? It would be eventually to share an art form that I actually really like, want to invest my time in, and that's always been music. Um, so I always felt like as much as intimate as it does feel, like it would not compare to like how intimate music would feel for me, which is why I don't talk about it much or share what I do have. But it's always something that I'm thinking about. Anyway, I don't know my point, but um, yeah, I don't know what my point was there. Sorry. It's that time of night. It's that time of the day, actually.
Yeah.
Night.
Yeah, I get that though, that other art forms feel more intimate, or yeah, like writing to me feels more intimate, mostly just because you have more space to like get inside of it, or it takes more time, or you kind of can't pretend that it doesn't take a lot of time. Like I'm gonna be real, those videos take me like 8 hours to make. Like I don't know how to edit stuff. I'm learning in real, they take so long, and I have to just pretend that like it took 30 seconds to make because they take 30 seconds to watch. Like it's not, but I can do that, and that's like a really nice level of plausible deniability if no one likes it. But the stakes feel so much higher when you really have to like own everything that you're doing, and you have to, I don't know. But also I was talking about this with a couple other like content creator friends, and we were sort of like, why is it so hard to sort of like say that you work hard on the things that you make, or why does that feel so cringe? But that's a journey for all of us.
Yeah, plausible deniability for me. Yeah, that's what the stealing is about. So if you say, well, I didn't make it, so I don't know, why are you yelling at me?
Yeah.
I just saw it and I thought, if I have to see this, you have to.
Yeah. Or stole my phone. Like
I'm interested, Aiden, in something you said earlier about like relatability, and about like articulating like really specific experiences and the value of that. And I'm thinking of something I read last week, and I've been getting like really into TikTok in the last year, like a lot of other people. And I actually want to do research on that for my thesis. And this person was postulating about like TikTok fame and about how like, you know, how bland this sort of crop of these top TikTokers, like I think specifically she was speaking about Addison Rae, but and about how TikTok sort of like encapsulates trying to be relatable to like such a large number of people, and like what's kind of lost in that process. So it's like, do you both think like there's sort of a value, like obviously you do have large platforms, but you're not, you know, reaching 5 million people, let's say, but do you think that there's sort of like an integrity in that smaller like audience and your ability to sort of retain like a specificity to your content?
For me, definitely, because of the New York thing. Like I want what I'm doing to feel very New York, very Dominican. Like I want that to be, and not on some like identity politics shit at all. Just like I like, that's me, that's my life, that's my flavor, and I want that to be very obvious. So that even if things get corporate and God forbid I make some money, um, it's very clear, like it's going to the kind of people who haven't been able to reap the benefits of, you know, these kinds of things, like with TikTok and like the dances and like making sure that the original dance creators get credit. Like that's the actual take that has to be taken here. I mean, like you shouldn't be allowed to make money. It's like, I'm poor. You know? So for me, it's, yeah, the nicheness, if that's even a word, is very important and very integral. And I'm always thinking about that.
Yeah, I don't know how to, I mean, again, I think that my circumstance is again unique because it's just me as a person. It's first and last name, like it's also a personal page, and so it's like, how could that not be a niche? Because it's me, it's just me. But like you know, and at the same time, like, I mean, you know, to be totally honest, like I have done and do like paid content creation for like big brands. Like I think I'm pretty NDA bound, so I can't talk, but like, you know, like broy household name vibes, and like you have to make sort of the most like common denominator content to do that. And it's kind of fun to just sort of no thinky, just Photoshop. But like it's also evil. It's both. I feel very both about it, but like but also get paid to do your stuff. But like, yeah, I am losing my train of thought a little bit about this because I just love listening to myself talk about nothing so much. But yeah, like I think that there's something really nice, or like something like about starting out on a social media platform, which like people didn't really, I think a lot about how, sorry, I'm starting the sentence like 6 times because I'm sort of putting it together in my brain, but I think a lot about how like this wasn't a thing that in like middle school or high school people were like what do you want to be? Like I never like I want to be this. Like not because it didn't feel possible, but because like it didn't exist. Like it just wasn't like a thing. And so when you come in, when things still feel very like malleable and very you know, new and weird, and like nobody knows quite like what to do with this medium, you can kind of do it your way, and you have to kind of just like figure it out. And so there's kind of a gift in that. Yeah, and yeah, I do fucking want to make money off this, or I want to at least sort of let it be a portfolio that can kind of you you know, showcase, you know, some qualities around like storytelling or world building or like comedy or like things that, you know, like, because again, there are a lot of skill sets in this. And at the same time, it feels really cool to have come into something when it wasn't marketable at all, because I never had to find my market. Like they, you know, it kind of has felt like, that's why it feels like community instead of like, you know, just like demographic or like audience, you know, in some ways. And I don't want to get too sort of cloying about that, because, you know, that's in itself is a little bit more complicated than that, but it feels very much like, you know, people follow you because they sort of relate to what you have to say. And the more niche, the more, if you can like hit that mark where you make someone connect to something like really specific and strange, like, oh, it's just like all the dopamine receptors in your brain pop off. It feels very good. Like,
I still feel very much in that malleable state, just because like I don't like, I have built a lot of skills just from what I've done, but like I don't have like a software skill, unfortunately. Just, you know, it's never too late for that, but I don't know, I feel like my brain sometimes can't fit into the mold of like Photoshop. Like
YouTube, my friend. Yeah, I never learned how to do that in school. It's all YouTube tutorials, and it's all just like, it's so funny when I started getting like clients, or like some people would be like, can you do like graphic design on this? And I was like, no, like, or I would actually just say yes and then stay up like all night and YouTube it, but like, and sort of make a bad version of that. And they would be like, you can't do this, you lied.
I know I've been asked to, and I'm just like, I can't even pretend.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that you thought that I could.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry I led you on.
Yeah. Oops. Yeah, I think a lot about how all TikTokers are really good at editing now. Especially now that I'm editing, like doing stuff. Yeah, like, and again, I've worked in the film industry for like, as you know, in various like assistant roles, and I've made short films and like sort of that process. And like it feels kind of cool to take some of that ego away, like in a lot of ways, and have it be like, yeah, like it should be a valued and compensated skill set. But like, you know, like if you can make something, like if you're a director, like you're not God, like you're not like, you know, if you're an auteur, like guess what, like everyone's a fucking auteur, like, and that's cool, like that, like everyone should be. I think that the idea that like your perspective is, you know, like is kind of interesting or is worth like exploring, or you know, your ideas are worth feeling thought out or realized, like I think that should be really accessible, and that's cool as hell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally amazing. Also just making me think of that like kind of still current meme format of like, how did like the text conversation, hey, how do you make your memes? And it's like, I kind of just like, and there's some image of somebody spiraling out of control or something, and they're like, no, I mean like what software?
The Fonto app. Free.
Yeah, we love Fonto. We love I use my ex's Photoshop subscription because he's an angel, I'm a good person. Like that's like yeah. There's always, yeah, there are free workarounds. Thank God for the internet. Like I don't think that I would be able to make anything without someone else showing me how.
Yeah, I'm also just really impressed by people who make all of their content in the like Instagram story editor, because to me that feels so fickle and my phone always crashes, and I'm like, I could never
I've done that for
put
sure.
myself in that, leave myself up to the Instagram gods. You've done that though. Brave. Yeah, could keep chatting forever and ask a million questions. I think we've got to get onto our listener questions soon, but first just wanted to ask if you have any final questions for each other before we get on to the audience questions.
I think I asked mine.
Yeah, me too. I wanted to talk about sort of identity and sort of how much in your account you feel as a person and what that feels like. And also we already did that. So thank you for predicting.
Oh, and I wanted to say that my fave is the Valentine's Day one.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Watching you watch my stories is my favorite psychosexual game. I remember sharing that and just being like, and I want you to see it. You know who you are.
Yeah, heavily storyable is like...
I mean, just the desirability game period that exists on Instagram is like a whole nother talk.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
We're not using Tinder, bro. Like, we're using Instagram. It's a different game altogether.
You have a few, I mean, of course you do, but you have a few specific people that like you want. Yeah, it's nice. It feels good.
And that's what Close Friends was made for.
Yeah. I mean, kind of, I feel more abject on my close friends, or more like boring. I feel boring. That's intimacy to me, is being able to be boring online. So my close friends are literally just like a text from my mom, like just something that feels personal and like not performative.
Yeah, not too raunchy.
Yeah, not too raunchy. But I'm also dating someone with like it's very like e-girl GF, 40 Instagram follower BF. We didn't follow each other until like a week ago. It's very erotic to me.
Yes.
Normal relationship cosplay. Like
yeah, there is something eerie about pursuing people who already know you.
Yeah.
But that's also why it's exciting.
Yeah, it feels good. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like, yeah, I feel complicated on the internet, but it also like kind of slaps to go into a situation and like, I don't know, like I didn't really have like a lot of friends growing up. Like I was kind of a weird kid and like didn't sort of it was kind of hard for me to read social cues, or like I was just a weirdo, and like it kind of, if I feel anxious now in like a social situation, it makes me really happy to be like, well, I have clout secretly. They don't they don't know me. They don't even know that like actually people on the internet do like me.
Have you ever been recognized in real life?
I have. And that feels, I think also, again, just because my face is on my page, but it does feel great. It feels great. It also feels deeply weird. Only like a few times. Have you?
Yeah. I mean, New York is just like a whole nother demon.
Yeah.
Like social circles and like where they overlap, and just like parties and social scenes and like Dime Square, and just like, what is this? it's like high school, just it's macro high school. So
yeah,
it tends to be more often in a community like this, and it's pretty weird.
It's also like kind of nice we're just fully like Hannah Montana-ing though, because other than getting occasionally recognized, which for me at least is like maybe like 2 or 3 times in the past like couple of years, so not often, but like it's kind of nice to have sort of a social life, or have people sort of care about what you're doing in sort of a major way, and then like you can go outside or like go do, and it's like you're fucking no one, like it doesn't, like you're not like, I'm not like I mean, as soon as we can market this, like,
I love Ariana Grande. I do not want to actually be her.
Yeah,
crazy, but I like to imagine as if I were, or I'm her best friend.
Yeah. Like I like the idea that ostensibly we can choose whether like we sort of log on to this lifestyle or not. I'm addicted to the internet, so I cannot choose, but I would be able to abstractly, and that's kind of cool.
Same.
So we have about 15-ish minutes left for audience questions. So let's just dive right in. So to start, I'm just going to kind of combine 2 questions because they touch on similar things. So Megan asks, thank you both for this great talk. As we all know, Instagram has often updated over the years and is now moving more and more towards advertisement and capitalistic aims. In light of this, I was curious if you could speak to the changes of the platform, the feature, the audiences, or infrastructures that have changed your work for better or for worse. And similarly, Lay_Ellie asks, How do you see the internet evolving, especially for artists?
Yeah, I mean, shadow banning is real, I'm pretty sure. That's part of it. And I mean, it feels really frustrating. Like, it can feel frustrating to have, advertised or like paid content being put at such a premium. And also I recognize that, like, I mean, it kind of, yeah, it's really frustrating. And also I don't know that it would be fair to, like, or not fair, but it's just not realistic for me to like expect Instagram to be anything else. I mean, it's a business, and I feel complicated about sort of the way that like, much of what I do is like drum up business for Mark Zuckerberg, like, like getting eyes, like it feels really good to me, and it feels important. And like, I feel like I love when people engage with my content, but I'm also like, I am sort of drumming up capital in the economy of attention, and like, who's actually profiting from this, like, I don't feel great about that all the time, or it's just something to be mindful of. And also I think that, like, what's the alternative, like, that we don't have like artists on Instagram and it's like just a brand platform, or what, or like, if I don't do it, like someone else is just gonna, it's not like, it doesn't actually help anyone. I think it's important to feel complicated about it, but it also like wouldn't help anyone to be like, oh, like, I'm gonna take a stand and like not share my horny Garfield theories. Like, that's like, I don't know. Again, that's the martyr shit. And that isn't actually like super helpful to anyone. But I think the internet, it's sort of a tough thing, because I don't know, as an artist, I also feel kind of sad about the ways that the internet has reminded me that most of my ideas are not original. I think that it's like really interesting to tweet something and then see that like a complete stranger has tweeted the same thing like 2 years ago or something. And then it's like, I don't know, that's like, there's something beautiful about being part of a hive mind. And also it can feel sad too, but I don't know, but also like, what a gift to get to sort of, again, experiment in real time with like what you're doing, and like try a new thing and sort of get, like, and to just sort of be tapped into like what people are interested in at any given time. It's cool.
Yeah, totally agreed. Definitely on the Mark Zuckerberg point. As a troll, I just would like to say from now on that I work for him.
Yeah.
People ask me what I do. Like, I'm unemployed, but I work for Mark Zuckerberg. Essentially, I mean, that is what's happening. Yeah, I totally agree. Also losing my train of thought again. Oh my God. I don't know. I've felt at times like, yeah, like, oh my God. Like the future's just going to be more and more constricting, and it's going to be harder to be honest and to be real online, or you're going to suffer some sort of consequence. I mean, that's already happening. So I'm a little worried about that, but that's probably just like my inner troll being scared that I won't be able to like troll people anymore, because you'll get canceled. And also I feel like that's kind of the game that you're playing with intimacy. It's like, I'm outnumbered here, so I'm gonna need to play some sort of game to like protect my ego and like my identity, or else like these people will quickly turn into a mob and like try to destroy me. Which is why, again, I'm kind of switched over into the curation aspect of content creating, because I just wanted that buffer, which I think will be more important going forward, is like, just can't really speak as yourself actually, the way that it was like in 2014, like the spiral culture, spiral meme culture. It's like, it's a liability at this point. So I don't know, I'm like, what's the word? I'm like tentatively optimistic about how things are going to look in the future, but mostly like leaning toward dystopia. Probably that I think that's just how my brain works. Like, I just kind of tend to be more black pilled than the average person. It's just so scary to me, like how things can unravel. And I've seen it happen in real time. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of feel like maybe we're in just the slow apocalypse, and at least we're gonna go out with clout. You know, at least with the heat death of the planet, like we'll have some simps, and I feel like all simps go to heaven, so they'll put in a good word for us.
Yes, we love the simps.
Yes. Oh my God, we do. From afar. Please don't send me memes that you've made. I don't like that.
Don't show up at my public events, or do just don't like stare at me. I've had that happen before.
Yeah.
So,
I'm even like, you can stare, just interaction, maybe not. Boundaries. Great. Everyone has different boundaries. Check in.
Yeah, heat death of the planet for real, but at least being internet hotties, you fit right in. But okay, this leads into our next question. Rachel asks, I'm wondering if you've noticed any shifts over time regarding what kinds of topics and ways of talking about these topics are acceptable, valued, devalued on Instagram and in your content, I assume, and even like differences between what your followers / audiences expect from you in like 2015 or earlier versus now.
Yeah. I mean, I think we sort of touched on that a little in terms of, or like just talking about, again, sort of, yeah, like the, you know, the spiral as performance art of maybe like 2013, 2014, 2015, and then sort of moving the ways that has sort of like branched off into a couple different directions. And I feel like in my own work, like I think I was a lot more personal. I mean, on some level, I just think that it's harder to be vulnerable to like, you know, 70,000 people than it is to like 700 or 7,000 people even. And like in my head, I'm always like the sweet spot was like 8K. Like that was like, you know, I felt like a celebrity, but I also would tell everyone everything about my life for better or worse. Like, and it's, yeah, and which isn't like, and I'm so grateful and it feels really, really good. Again, just like as an artist and someone who likes to overshare, like this is really fun and cool for me, and I really enjoy it. And also, I think inherently like the nature of your work is going to change, and like, you know, or I've shared like I have had like some shitty trauma experiences and I've talked about that online. And I also like think a lot about how like I don't want that to define who I am or what my art is. And so like, would I approach that differently as someone with like a much bigger audience, or would I don't know, it's such a difficult, yeah, like I think also at some point you just get fucking tired of talking only about yourself. Like I think Susan Sontag has talked about how like at some point all artists have to become activists by necessity. And it's funny because I feel like as much as I've moved away from infographic culture, I don't want to be an activist in that way. And I certainly would not describe myself as an activist in any way, but also like I'm just out here to vibe. But I think the stuff that I want to talk about has organically shifted a little bit from like exploring my own personal experiences and metabolizing them in that way, and talking just a little bit more about stuff that I find interesting in the world, or things that I'm seeing that affect people like on a like more than just me, you know, or like things that feel bigger than me. Like I want to, like, I'm always going to be in my work. I can't change that, but I also want to talk about other stuff.
Yeah, same. Also, I think format-wise, things have changed a lot. Just like, I just remember, I don't know if you're following Goth Shakira. She was like one of my original, like, oh my God, this is so cool. And you're hot? Wait,
Mm-hmm. So
hot. She can't be real. She is real. Like the super crazy, like paragraph text and then just like a small image. Like I remember that era and I was very into that. Because I guess I am more writer based than like, I would sooner write something like Photoshop something. So that made sense to me. And now it's like really a picture of a monkey passing a blunt to a monkey is like literally no caption. You don't need to say anything. That's the thing. Sometimes people just do too much.
Yeah.
less is so much more when you're talking about memes. And as someone who like was like in an actual activist community, like actually like marching and like part of the like, you know, a hub, and like we do readings, and like I'm very much like I am just trying to vibe.
Yeah.
She had my feet hurting. Like I refuse to go to another protest. I'm sorry. It's just like I get dehydrated. And then I have to pee. Like, who am I helping? You know, that's me again being black pilled. But
Protest Cella.
can't. Why are we at Union Square? These people don't care. It's just like a run, like a closed Urban Outfitters. It's just insane. But you have to know it to know what's, you know, the limits of it. It can only do so much. But in terms of like what do your followers audience expect, I don't know what the fuck they expect from me. Like what do you want? That's usually my reaction to them. I don't know on that one. How do you feel about expectations? I don't know.
Oh, I'm always sort of it's interesting. Yeah, I try to not tie myself too much to that. Like I think I also for my mental health, I'm not a lurker. I won't do it. Like you know, again, yeah, like I've been dating someone for a couple of months and we just followed each other last week and I had never looked at his social media before that. Like I won't look it up. I won't, if it's like someone's ex, I don't want to know. I don't, you know, I know that I will hurt myself. So I feel like already I am like I try not to look at like numbers or like likes or like to the point that it's actually probably avoidant. Like it feels like just the other end of the spectrum. So I try not to put too much into expectation in that way, but it is interesting to me when I'll notice that like people really like or don't like a certain thing. I try to just keep it as like, oh, that's like interesting, and from a creative perspective at some point, you know, I want to make stuff that people like, you know, or like if it's a nice practice. And also but also sometimes people expect really dumb shit, like sorry. Like, or like again the expectation that because you have a political opinion, you're going to be an expert and an activist and an educator, or like that expectation is a really wild one that feels you know, particularly helpful to no one. But like, yeah, creative expectations, I think it's easy to feel pigeonholed. I think that it's like really, you know, like I've started doing more video work. I've started doing, and that feels really like in my own voice and really aesthetically similar to everything that I've done. And also like that was really fucking scary. Like I was like, what if just no one likes this? Like, and that's like, and then you're like, why the fuck do I care? But I do, of course I care. Like I'm a person. I want people to like the things that I make and am.
That's kind of where I am at, where I'm like, I don't have to do anything, but I want to make things that are more me and not keep deflecting as a means of protecting myself. But yeah, there's that fear. Like this
Yeah.
not gonna vibe with this. And this is all
I
just
feel like,
a house of cards.
yeah, I feel like you can just slip like every fifth one, every third
People
one.
usually tend to hate the whole like, oh really, you made an EP? Like, which is like, that's what I want to do. That's the only thing I've ever wanted to do. This is just random that this happened. I didn't mean to do this. So I guess that's remains to be seen how that will go over.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, if people are not into it, that expectation is kind of that entitlement again of like, oh, we just wanted you to make free monkey blunt content forever. And we don't want it. It is interesting to me that people have, again, they have to, obviously, because no one, you know, it would be really unhealthy if anyone knew our full and complete selves on the internet. And also there's a really static idea of like who someone is and what they're making. And it's really interesting sometimes when people let you know exactly like sort of what they think your voice is, or like I occasionally get DMs from people just being like, I just love how open you are being like a fuck up. Like I'm a, you know, when I'm a really sad mess and like you make me feel like seen and all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm actually doing like okay. Like, I'm not like, I don't know that I would describe myself as like a complete abject fuck up, but I'm glad that you feel seen. Like,
It's a little projection.
yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I'm rebranding.
So, thank you for that. That was excellent. I think we're going to try to wrap up. We just have a couple more questions before we end. So Margaret wants to know, she'd love to hear Aiden talk about the inspiration behind the process of creating the guided meditation content.
Yeah, sure. So those are basically, I mean, I feel like that's sort of been everything that I make is well, no, half the things that I make are things that I've thought of in the moment and pulled up Fonto and just been like picture text, but other things are things that I feel like have just been in my brain for a really long time and they have to figure out a medium. And I think I'm really interested. So I have done a lot of like, as a freelance writer, a lot of like beauty and like wellness writing. And I'm really interested in sort of the commodification of mental health and sort of the ways that we pathologize sort of like mental health language and culture. And like, obviously, and I've also been, I mean, I've been in therapy, I did outpatient, I've been professionally and creatively unwell for like much of my life, but also like, I'm great and can look at that from sort of an angle where I want to, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm trying to articulate exactly what it was, but I think I also wanted to make stuff that felt, so that's also just something that I'm interested in. That sort of background is that these are things that I sort of think about and want to lovingly explore in a way that occasionally makes fun of them. And also, I wanted to make stuff that felt a little bit more narrative or like as long form as like 20 to 30 seconds can be, or like I'm really interested in world building and like creating something that feels like a whole mood, I guess, and it's been really fun to kind of put together the details and do something that feels a little bit more narrative. So yeah, I hope that's a satisfying answer off the top of my head. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that really touches back on what Bianca also was saying about like duration and like craving something with a little more like duration and longevity, which sometimes memes are lacking, or just a one panel image text meme. Piper, do you want to hit us with the last cue?
Or our last cue is from Ree, and they ask, where can we buy merch from our fave meme creators, which I'm assuming means you two.
I did actually get into that world once. It's not that I'm not into it. I'm just like, I lose interest very fast with things. I have a couple shirts if you want to DM me personally, because I don't know if we could do like a whole nother round of production. It was this concept I took. I stole it from New York State government. Was it the government? Something like that. So I've been watching a lot of Jersey Shore, and I just feel like I'm adopting Snooki's personality. I'm just like, is this like hard? Like, bimbo vibes. It's from a pamphlet that was being shared around. I think it's like the height of like the Son of Sam, like summer of '76 or something. It was like Welcome to Fear City with like the skull, this hooded skull, which is like death, and it like had like a list of things of not to do, like don't leave Manhattan, like don't go to Brooklyn, like park your cars in certain places, like have some sort of protection on you at all times. And it was just like that on the back. I thought that was funny. And I still have some, so if that person wants to DM me, I can send it to them if they want.
That's cool as hell. I want one. I'm gonna DM you about that. I actually am in talks with a merch person who has blessedly for like 6 months been like, I will help you do this. I think the issue is that when I make something, it's like 4 inches big, and then again, because I don't know Photoshop or Illustrator, when they're like, oh, make that, but make it like 12 inches big. I'm like, no, how? I don't know. Yeah, or just trying to make aesthetic and good, and yeah, like wanting to, you know, it's that I would love to. Merch is on the way. I swear to God, someone is really compassionately and lovingly pushing me to do this, and I know that it will only benefit me and feel so good and fun. And also I love to procrastinate and scare myself out of projects, so it is it's in development. I also have some old, I did a lot of collaborations with the lovely, great, beautiful friend and collab and artist, Renaissance Man, and I have some of those that it's in a box under my table, so we're gonna do a little yard sale in my stories of that. Yeah, so new stuff coming, old stuff coming a little bit sooner, and it's a plan. But if y'all like something in particular and you want to see it, let me know, because it's also really hard for me, again, with expectations, to tell like what people actually would put like on a mug or on the ass of their sweatpants, which is I literally want to just put everything that I've ever made on the ass of sweatpants. And I think my merch guy's like, what? No, like stop doing that. Like make a shirt, you weirdo. Like,
speaking of intimacy.
Yeah, that's it. I just want to be on the ass. Like, sit on me, 2021. Yeah, it's great.
Well, on that note, thank you so much for being here today, for sharing your thoughts and energies, and yeah, for being a part of this. It was such a pleasure.
Hell yeah.
Same.
Thank you so much for having us. Yuck, it was so
random.
You.